I just want to celebrate another game we're winning. I just want to celebrate. Sens win 5-1 over the Los Angeles Kings. Did you see that? They listened. Get on Jack Campbell early? They did that. Shore up your defense? They did that too. It was an excellent effort from the club. Easily their best game of the season. Sure, they still gave up too many shots, but their goalie was good when needed. They limited the number of high-quality scoring chances against, and, quite frankly, you're going to have a high shot total when you're playing with the lead for most of the night. So, before we get into things, there were a couple of storylines heading in. Aside from who's scoring and who's not, Sens fans first had to find out who was playing and who wasn't. One day after putting seemingly half of the roster on injured reserve, the Sens had several new faces in the lineup against the Kings. With Cody Ceci, Ryan Dzingel, and Alex Formenton out, Christian Jaros, Ben Harper, and Paul Carey drew into their first game of the season for the Sens. With Ceci out, the Sens deployed a defensive core that included Dylan DeMello, Mark Borowiecki, Chris Weidman, Maxime Lajoie, Thomas Chabot, Harper, and Jaros, meaning Guy Boucher elected to go with 7 defensemen and 11 forwards. With those 7 defensemen drawing into the lineup, it really underscores the change the Sens defensive core has undergone in the last year, especially with one of those former blue liners returning to Ottawa with the Kings. The game was Dion Phaneuf's first in Ottawa since his trade from the Senators to the Kings last February. Now I have to admit, I was never a huge Phaneuf fan when he was in Calgary and certainly wasn't when he was in Toronto, but I also have to admit, he grew on me in Ottawa and it was nice to see him back. I thought he did some really good things for the team over his parts of 3 seasons in the nation's capital. With Phaneuf rolling into town, it also illustrates Ottawa's current financial situation, thanks to this tweet from Dmitry Filipovich. Dion Phaneuf's cap hit was the second highest among defensemen for the Kings yesterday. He was also the highest paid defenseman on the ice for the Sens yesterday, and he doesn't even play for the team anymore! Let me put that into perspective for you. The Sens dressed 7 defensemen yesterday, and with Phaneuf on the ice, there were 8 Sens defensemen being paid. Phaneuf's $1.75 million retained in the trade with the Kings marked the highest salary of any Sens defenseman. No defenseman on the roster made more than $1.75. With roster decisions like that, no wonder this team has financial issues. Now, to be fair to them, Ceci was hurt, and he does make more, and Chabot, when his contract expires at the end of next season, will also make more. But with Ceci out of the lineup, only 2 of the Senators' 7 defensemen made at least $1 million. Boro makes 1.2, and Weidman makes 1 on the mark. No wonder they struggle so much defensively. They're young, and the vets on the roster, they aren't getting paid. But each of those 7 defensemen earned every bit of their modest, by NHL standards, salary yesterday. The Kings came into yesterday's game having given up 3 goals combined in their first 3 games. The Sens said, "Ha! We'll see your 3, and we'll raise you 3. The home side exploded for 3 first-period goals. It seemed more like a train conductor trying to annoy a community than it did a hockey game. Boy, it sure is I can't wait to see, would someone shut that stupid train up? Oh, their goals? Carry on. Just over 6 minutes in, the Sens get on the board first. Chabot's point shot gets blocked. It lands on the stick of DeMello, and he slides the puck towards the empty net. Just as it's about to cross the line, though, oh, Chris. Why'd you have to do your longtime teammate dirty like that? Of all the players to do it to, you do it to the guy who was your teammate during your San Jose days? Tierney tips DeMello's empty net shot at the last minute and steals the goal. That goal gives me terrifying flashbacks to my youth. I was always dreadful of Call of Duty, but every time I was just about to get a kill, someone would come along and steal it from me. I feel your pain, DeMello. Fortunately, it was an afternoon game. Tierney had lots of time after the game to pay up. I sure hope he did. For Sens fans, though, it didn't matter. We'll take him any way we can get him. Sens lead, 1-0. A few minutes later, Stone finds Bodker. His shot gets blocked. Weidman picks up the rebound and backhands it home. What an awesome moment for Weidman. Almost 1 year to the day after he last scored, he gets another one. After his freak injury last year in a collision with Evgeny Malkin, it was really nice to see him get that goal. It was a really interesting play for the Sens, though. One of the things that I've really picked up on early this season is the activation of the Sens D in the offensive zone. Last video, I talked about Lajoie putting himself in the right areas by going to the net. Both of the Sens' first 2 goals were a result of that. The first was DeMello picking up the puck near the hash marks. The second was Wideman picking up the puck in almost the exact position on the ice. It looks to me like Guy Boucher might be implementing a system where his defensemen are activated more. That's a good plan with the Sens forwards struggling offensively, especially with the team lacking top offensive talent. That's working well right now, but if I'm picking that up on tape, you can bet other teams are as well. So, of course, other teams are going to start game planning for that style. How the Sens manage those adjustments will be interesting to see. The Kings did challenge for goalie interference on the play, but Tkachuk made contact with Campbell outside the blue paint. The NHL says you're allowed to do that. The goal counted, and the Sens lead 2-0. Just before the end of the period, Chabot takes a point shot that creates a scramble in front. Stone bangs away at it, finally jamming it home. After a hot start last season, Stone has started out a lot slower this year. The goal snapped a 3-game goalless drought and gave Stone his second goal of the year. Through 5 games, Stone has 2 goals and 1 assist. Maybe that goal will help kickstart him offensively. Of course, the Kings also challenged this goal, thinking that it might not have gone in after all. The goal would stand as Stone squeaked it just far enough to get it over the line. Sens lead 3-0. 10 minutes into the second, Max Lajoie goes all Erik Karlsson on the Kings and alley-oops a pass from his own goal line into the neutral zone. Stone is standing there waiting for it, but gets checked from behind. That frees the puck up for Colin White, who is flying through the neutral zone. White wheels over the blue line and into the Kings zone, firing a wrister just over the pad of Jack Campbell. Woo-hoo-hoo! What a shot! That's what we need to see. If we can get Colin White playing like that every game, that first-round pick we used on him, it's going to look pretty good. For now, we're going to need to be patient. He's a young player, and he's still developing. As long as he keeps showing flashes like that, I don't mind the wait. That's his second of the year, chasing Jack Campbell from the goal, and the Sens lead 4-0. I'm sorry, what? Didn't think I'd be saying that this year. A few minutes later, yeah, there we go, that's better. Drew Doughty finds Trevor Lewis streaking through the middle. He dekes out Anderson, and the Kings are on the board. What an excellent pass from Doughty. Sure would be nice to have a right-handed shot defenseman who can make passes like that every night. Oh wait, we did. And you traded him! Chabot shoots left. Calm down. Seriously though, that pass, that's the exact kind of pass we used to see Karlsson make all the time. Seeing Doughty make that pass made me realize just how much I miss seeing Karlsson play. With him on the West Coast, it's much tougher to catch the Sharks than it was to catch the Sens. The only disappointing thing about the play? The Sens had all the pressure in the Kings zone. The Kings finally got the puck and go down the ice and score. That's a backbreaker after such an excellent shift. It also came on a bad line change. But hey, it's still 4-1. Buckle down, no harm, no foul. When I said buckle down, I didn't mean take a penalty in the last 3 minutes of the period. Boro gets sent off for tripping, and the Kings go to the power play, looking to cut the Sens' lead to 2 heading into the third period. Not today! The Sens kill it off and take a 4-1 lead into period 3. That was a huge kill by a unit that had a really good night. More on that later. Not only was that a huge kill, but it could have potentially been a game saver. If the Kings score there, with under 2 minutes to play, it not only changes the momentum of the game, but it also shrinks their lead. It is a lot easier to play with a 3-goal lead than it is a 2-goal lead. The fact that they were able to kill that off and go into the third with a 3-goal lead instead of a 2-goal lead made that third period a lot less stressful. Speaking of the third, we find out a few minutes into the third that Jaros is given an assist on White's second period goal. That gives the recently recalled Sen his first career NHL point. I'm sure that was a real proud moment for the youngster. Good for him. I hope we see lots more games and points from him in a Sens uniform in the years to come. 9 minutes left now. Sens still up by 3. The Kings take a penalty and the Sens pull their goalie to get the extra attacker. Duchesne finds Wideman at the point. He blasts home his second of the night and the Sens lead 5-1. Good for Wideman. Not sure if he'll ever play again or score again. He gets 2 in one game. I'm sure that was a great feeling for him. Both teams have plenty of chances the rest of the third. Neither team scores, and the Sens win 5-1. Now, takeaways. The first takeaway, that was the Sens' first win against the Kings in almost 2 years. Their last win, November 11th, 2016. Sure, they only play twice a year, but it's still nice to snap any losing streak. Aside from that, I thought the Sens players had a real solid night. The coaches? Nah, that's another story. After the game, I did some box score digging. Wideman scored twice against the Kings, but, according to the NHL, he only played 805? First of all, kudos to Wideman. For a defenseman to score twice in only 8 minutes of ice time, that's pretty impressive. Having said that, what the heck was that? Sure, the Sens had 7 defensemen dressed, but their usage was really puzzling to me. Wideman played 8 minutes, and Jaros played 11. The guy who led the team in ice time was Ben Harpur, the same guy who wasn't even good enough to dress in any of the first 4 games for the Sens. Harpur played just over 22.5 minutes, and the only other Sens defenseman to reach the 20-minute mark was Dylan DeMello. Chabot and Boro were just shy of 20 minutes, and Lajoie was just shy of 19. I thought DeMello, Chabot, Boro, and Lajoie played just about the right number of minutes. But how does Harpur play the most? More than 2 minutes more than anybody else. Sure, he played nearly 5 minutes of shorthanded time, but shouldn't some of that even strength time go somewhere else? Ideally, I would have liked to have seen him around the 17 to 20 minute mark, and then Wideman or a combination of Wideman and Jaros to pick up the rest of the minutes. You dress 7 defensemen and basically only played 5. I'd like to see that change in the future. Now, I mentioned Harpur and his near 5 minutes on the penalty kill. Harpur and the rest of that penalty kill was excellent against the Kings, which is very good news. After a tough couple of years killing penalties, the Sens held the Kings, who have plenty of offensive firepower I might add, 0 for 5 on the day. Sure, the Kings so far this season are 0 for 18 on the penalty kill, but at some point that has to change. In past years, Ottawa has been a really good skid snapper. Yesterday, not so much. They held the Kings goalless and made sure that the Kings would come into town and leave town 0 for. Now, the bad news. On a night where the Sens played quite well, it's really tough to pick something out. With that in mind, I'll say the bad news is the shots against. 37, that's way too many. Sure, you limited the number of dangerous scoring chances against, but shots are still shots. Any shot can go in. The club was bailed out by an excellent Craig Anderson, who made a number of excellent saves. While the shots against was bad news, the excellent play of Anderson was a terrific sign of things to come, potentially for the rest of the season. Next up for the Sens, the Dallas Stars on Monday. That will be a tough matchup for the Sens. Heading into yesterday, 9 of the top 10 scorers in the NHL had played the Sens at least once so far this season. The one who hasn't? Tyler Seguin, the guy who just happens to play for those aforementioned Dallas Stars. Shutting down Seguin, Jamie Benn, John Klingberg, and Alex Radulov will be tough, but it will be key for the Sens if they hope to have any shot on Monday night. The Stars played the Ducks last night and outshot them 30-4 in the second period. If they can do it to the Ducks, they can do it to the Sens. Be aware. Also coming to town on Monday will be former Sen Jason Spezza. It'll be nice to see him back. Sure, he had some warts as a Sen, but, quite honestly, he was one of the best talents this team ever had. And there's no better talent than that laugh. See ya Monday night.